So no, it did the thing where it's zooming in on the little bit. Let me see if I can. No, it's not going to obey, so we're just going to all be big while I do my intro. Episode 34 of Cinema Curse tonight. Black your thumbs, rev your engines, and get ready to talk about Furiosa, the new Mad Max movie, and the Mad Max films from Down Under. I'm your Wicked Game Master, Connor Lloyd Crews, and joining me is the Joey Chestnut of talking about movies, Mr. Edwin Gomez.
Hello, America. I just want to say right off the bat, I think Furiosa is a piece of shit, and I want to get that out of the way as soon as possible. I want to warn the American people about this picture. It's horrible. I think it's a disgrace to Mad Max, and yeah. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I think the gentleman doth protest too much. Who else is with us?
What's up, guys? Brian, how are you?
Hey everyone, I'm Scott. Good to see you guys.
And Daniel should be joining soon. He's late. Like a little fucker.
He's trying to get back on the Fury Road. California traffic, man. It's not easy here.
I want to thank Marina Sakamoto and her band Shunken for the use of their song Curse off the EP She Nods for opening. It's been 223 days since the strike ended and the AMPTP still sucks. Yeah. The Mad Max movies. We're going to talk about all of them in order, but I imagine we're going to talk about each one a little more for the most part. Because I think there's probably the most to talk about with Furiosa just because it's new. But let me go ahead and change my background for the first one. I have a picture of Max von Sydow because I always think Max's friend is Max von Sydow because he kind of looks like him. If people remember Max's friend from the first Mad Max movie. Edwin, you know what I'm talking about?
May I say it again? Oh, you mean Goose?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Goose. Yeah, that dude is cool.
He kind of looks like a young Max von Sydow, in my opinion.
Yeah, if Max von Sydow was Australian and he was talking about death and steal a guy's food in the process, that's kind of cool.
I think von Sydow could have done that.
Von Sydow could have done that, but he had to done a very drove by the outback, mate, talking an Australian accent.
That's a good accent.
Thank you.
Edwin greedily volunteered to summarize all three of these. So, Edwin, what happens in the first Mad Max, which is just called, in fact, Mad Max?
Mad Max.
Not.
So Mad Max. Mad Max 1979 or 1980, what you call it, takes place in the not too distant future where society is about to collapse. But in this realm, Max is a cop who catches bad guys, and then a bike rider gang comes into town because one of their crew members gets killed, and they want Max's head. So yeah, that's basically It's basically the premise of the movie. It's a great car chase movie. Lots of great action sequences, a lot of brutal moments. This was shot on a low budget. The biker gang that was used in the movie was actual real Australian bikers that were paid in beer. And Max is played by Mel Gibson, and he is the shining star of the picture.
Yeah, it's interesting. Three of the five of these movies you can basically describe are basically the same movie on a story level. And this is one of the two that isn't. It's more of a revenge movie.
It's a straight up revenge movie. So wait, should I give it away? What happens in it, or should I just
We can spoil. This movie's been out.
Yeah. I feel like we're past.
It's like 45 years ago.
The main gang leader is named Toe Cutter, who brutally murders Max's family's his wife and his baby son, and now he wants revenge. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's pretty brutal. Very bleak movie, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
No, honestly, I remember the first time I watched it at home with my roommate, and we were like, yeah, Mad Max, let's do this. And then when we watched it, it was like, man, that was a pretty bleak movie. Mm-hmm. Like, we were expecting the Road Warrior, and it was not that. First off, like, one thing is that, like, society's collapsed, but, like, just recently. You know, like...
almost feels like it could be in the world of, like, Brazil or something.
Yeah.
You know? Like, where it's, like, right on that edge of collapse, as opposed to all the other movies. I do think that, like, kind of like the Of the Dead movies, it feels like each Mad Max takes place further, like, exponentially further into collapse. You know?
Yeah.
This is right before Road Warrior is, like, 100 years after. Beyond Thunderdome is like a couple hundred years, and then Fury Road, it feels like it's like 1,000 years after.
Yeah.
But Scott, I interrupted you about the first Mad Max.
No, I mean, that's basically what I was getting at. It's just that, like, this one, while it is like post-apocalypse, like, I was surprised how, like, domesticated, like, Max was at the beginning compared to the other movies. But yeah, I love it. The car stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's probably...
that's what we're there for.
That's maybe like one of the dings against this movie. I'll go ahead and as we go on, I'll give my ranking of the movies, because I just rewatched all of them and saw Furiosa for the first and second time. And I put this at number 4 out of the 5 movies. Okay. So I think it's good, but I think there are 3 and 2 specifically that are clearly better. But I think I like that Max is the original Jigsaw at the end. I don't know if people remember that beat where he's like, you gotta saw your own leg off. To the guy. He like...
Yeah.
He puts like a bomb next to him.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I do think that the middle suffers a little bit. That was my critique I was going to get to, where like that opening car chase is so good, and then there's like probably more in the middle of Max just kind of like hanging out with his family. It's like, all right, let's get to it, George.
Yeah. Well, when on your budget, you gotta.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and move on. I'll give Daniel some space to revisit the ones we've already mentioned, assuming he gets here at some point.
We don't need Daniel. Never need him.
Edwin, can you summarize the Road Warrior?
And guess what? I just saw the Road Warrior on 35mm because that's a way better Mad Max movie with actual practical, death-defying stunts, car chase sequences, real life visuals, crazy batshit moments in the movie, none CGI bullshit, just straight pure Mad Max. What were you saying? Oh yeah, summarize it. Yeah, sure. I just want to get that out there to the world. So Road Warrior, aka Mad Max 2, in the distant future, society has collapsed. Deserts are cities are now wastelands, deserts, and they're only
Deserts are
source
now
of income.
battlefields.
Yeah, the desert are now battlefields, and now their only source is fuel. And now Max is out there as the Road Warrior, who has to save this group of individuals that run like a fueling station as these crazy bike raider wasteland gangs try to take it over, and now Max gotta fight them off to save the day. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the 3 movies that essentially has the same plot synopsis, which is that it's a kind of samurai man with no name western sort of thing, but with cars and in the post-apocalypse,
right.
where Max is this
Drifter.
Oh, Daniel's here.
Daniel.
We're just on the
Where is
second
he?
one.
Yeah.
Where's the bastard?
Hey, what's up?
Daniel, Furiosa fucking suck, and you know you
Keeps
bastard.
talking about this. You're gonna be facing an uphill battle shortly when we get to that, Edwin.
I will win. I will
You
win.
will not, Edwin.
Yes, I will.
You will not. By your own measure, maybe, but nobody listening to this is going to agree with you, even if they agree that they don't like the movie. I think I actually have a really I actually been thinking about this. I have a really good argument for why you're full of shit. And
No, I have a pure argument on why you're full of shit, my friend. All right, I know the truth, Dids Connor. I know the truth.
I know the truth, which is that you're really good at having and expressing opinions, and you're not very good at defending or justifying them.
I can defend it. I can defend it. Bastard, I can defend
I
it.
can't wait, man.
I'm
I
excited.
can't wait.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. for this.
I'm like 90% sure Edwin's gonna turn me at the very least.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm hoping for it. My
pretty-
letterbox, it's making changes.
Yeah. I'm ready to hit that edit button.
Daniel, we're in the middle of talking 2. Do you have any brief thing to talk about with the first one real quick before we get back into 2?
Yeah, I went through them all before Furiosa came out. I'd seen them all, but I wanted to go back through them. And one is a movie I really admire. I think it's I love like the exploitation factor. I love like how it got made. It feels dirty and grimy. But in comparison to what's to come, I think it holds up for me better than half of Thunderdome.
Yes.
But I think it's a solid movie, not a great movie.
Yeah.
I think what it's pulling off with its restrictions is very impressive, but in the realm of what Miller would accomplish, I think it's it feels like something you would make with your friend in the best way, to be very clear. This feels like the ultimate version of the movie you make with your friends when you're in high school.
I mentioned to them that I would rank the movies as we go along, and I'd put the first one at 4.
I think that's fair. I would agree.
Yeah.
Same.
But Road Warrior, we were just talking about how it's the first one, and it's one of 3 of these 5 movies that have basically the same synopsis, which is that Max is a sort of wandering samurai type who comes across a group of people. At first, he just wants to move on and get what he can from them, and then he's eventually compelled to help them and be a good guy. And
yeah, it feels very Kurosawa based.
Yeah, I think Road Warrior rips. Road Warrior is my second favorite. Road Warrior to me is one of the 2 that's like unimpeachably really great. Great dog.
It is.
Great kid.
It's what makes like we know Mad Max because Road Warrior. You know, like I feel like if it was just
the first
Mad
one.
Max would be this like, you know, like cult, you know, Australian film that people say, like, hey, check out. And even if Mel Gibson had the same career minus Mad Max, would be like, check out this like first film that Mel Gibson ever made. But like we know Mad Max because of Road Warrior, and you know it was just another level.
Yeah.
In the same way of like Evil Dead 2.
But even then, I was thinking about that. I feel like Evil Dead would be known more without Evil Dead 2 than the original Mad Max.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, this is definitely the biggest situation there, where, like, the original Mad Max would be more on the level of, like... I'm trying to think of, like, a good comparison. without Mad Max 2. It would just
Like
not
something that
be
just jumped.
on the same wavelength, I think. If it
I
had just
feel
been that
a
first one.
lesser extreme would be the Terminators of like Terminator
Yeah.
1 and yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
But even that would also still, I think,
No,
be
I
more
agree.
relevant.
Like I said, a lesser extreme.
Yeah. Gyro Guy
Yeah.
rules. Humongous Jason Voorhees rules. I love him.
It feels like it doesn't, like, victory lap's not the right word, because it just feels like he's like operating in a different world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever cool stuff he was testing with the first movie, he approached this with like such a confidence that feels insane to me.
It feels like,
There's
now
no
we have a budget.
compromise.
Yeah,
There's just the movie he wanted to make. That's what it feels like. Maybe that's not true behind the scenes, but it feels actively insane coming from one. Like, it's a different someone operating on in a different battlefield.
I also think like it had to have helped to make Mel Gibson too, because like it's not that he's bad in the first one or anything, but like he's really charismatic in this one. And I know that like people have a troubled relationship with Mel Gibson, but I don't know. Like I feel like I'm at the point, unless somebody reminds me of something that he did that was truly horrible. Didn't he just say a bunch of nasty stuff? Did he actually do anything nasty?
He's just done a lot of anti-Semitic shit over the years.
Yeah. Well, that's
I mean, he's a guy who gets drunk and yells and causes more for his problems for himself than he should have. But
I feel
like some of the,
in the grand scheme of things, we found out so many of our beloved pop culture figures are true monsters. And I don't know. I'm not gonna give them a pass, so to speak, but like I'm more okay with them, I guess. Then
I'm not gonna not watch Mad Max because of Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
How's that?
And
he's not even the interesting, like everything around him is what's interesting.
Yeah.
That's why I think Mad Max works overall, is that he's the through line, but the world is so much more interesting than the character of Max.
I do think in 2 he's particularly good of the first 3. But yeah. Edwin, you got anything to say for yourself? What do you think about Road Warrior?
Road Warrior is a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest action movies ever made in the history of cinema. Like you can never top what they did in that movie at all.
They actually did.
Hey, Danny, why don't you shut the fuck up, man? You weren't there. You weren't there at the Egyptian theater on a Saturday night watching a beautiful fucking 35 frame movie with this jaw-dropping moments in that
anecdotal
film,
evidence
man.
would be easily dismissive.
Connor, what are you, man? What are you, huh? Fuck are you?
I'm trying to disassemble. We all really like this movie. I think
that movie is incredible.
I would venture to guess that it's possible that out of the 4 of us, it might be all of our second favorites. At worst, I would imagine third.
second or third by far for sure.
Third, whatever.
And
also, think, I'd be curious. This feels in the realm of like Empire Strikes Back, of like a sequel that like watching this now, it's impossible to understand sort of what this would have been in '81 versus what it inspired from like a visual aesthetic.
Oh yeah,
like think post-apocalyptic things in relation to Mad Max, Road Warrior specifically, like so much to it, and so it's hard to even fathom its like importance because we've seen what it became. So if you see it like after that, it must be extra weird to try to understand like, oh, this was unprecedented type of thing.
This didn't exist before this. I mean, in the same way they like, I remember they showed a clip from Mean Streets. It was Edgar Wright was interviewing Martin Scorsese, and they showed the clip of like Robert De Niro walking into the bar and they're playing Rolling Stones. And Edgar Wright said, like, just by the way, like them walking into like music like that, he invented that. And it was just one of those things like, now that every movie has, modern pop music playing.
Yeah, it's a big needle drop.
But like that just wasn't how they made movies before that. In the same way that like when we want to even like parody post-apocalyptic, we don't realize it, but we're like speaking a language that George Miller wrote.
Yeah. It's also, I read, I'll kind of go through this throughout these, but I read the Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, the making of Fury Road. Yes. And it talks a lot about him making these two, especially the first one, and that I don't know if you guys already talked about this, but George Miller was like a doctor with a doctorate and worked emergency rooms and would get sent out to car wrecks to do on-site surgeries and stuff, and it like kind of messed him up so bad that he started to like write these weird fantastical like post-apocalyptic things he was like kind of having nightmares about. And that's the craziest. So like all of these weird intricacies of car wrecks and this like BDSM fueled thing probably ranges from that like world he existed in, and I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Not that he experienced the trauma from it, but that it gave him some great art.
Yeah. It's like how I'm pretty
shaped
sure
his brain.
I'm pretty sure didn't David Cronenberg watch both his parents die horrible, slow deaths from cancer?
Yes, I believe you're right.
Which, when you hear about that, you go like, "Oh, okay, that makes a lot
also
of things
important.
Make sense."
Great kid performance, which is rare.
Yes, especially.
I read this, so I stole this, but I read it. But someone mentioned the way you get a great kid performance is you don't let them talk.
Especially in contrast to
what's to come.
What's to come? Movie. Yeah,
the next film.
Yeah,
I think I had something to say. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about schlock. Like so much of 80s and 90s low budget stuff that was filmed, for a cheap thing in LA. If you wanted to do a genre, hey, it's real easy just to bring some cars out into the desert and have people wear like some of the half of the fantasy costumes with leather belts and be like, it's the apocalypse.
Do you guys think if this world happened now, Edwin would be the feral kid with the boomerang?
Back at you.
Edwin,
not as a negative, as I mean, you cut off a guy's head.
Is there any
you put it like that, and maybe yes.
Is there any point in the movie where they come across a body that's already dead? Because that's
they do.
Okay, that's Edwin.
Well, fuck you, Connor.
No, wait. Edwin's like running like the theater, like the sanctuary, where it's like we show the shit I want to see. I don't care what side you're on. You fucking watching the movie,
and it's only analog because everything got destroyed.
Yeah, he's the and exactly. So he's the king of his theater. Yeah.
Edwin dies so fast in the post-apocalypse. I'm sorry, guys. I can't sanction this buffoonery.
my final positive thing. 96 minutes.
Yeah.
And it feels epic.
It feels crazy.
Yeah.
It feels extra crazy. My brain defaults into filmmaker mode to be like, oh, you do this to do this. You do this to protect yourself from this. There's stuff from this where I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
There's just things happening where I'm like, how do you put this to paper and then pull it off? And you don't have the wizardry of like VFX artists behind you to correct little flubs. You're just like, I think it's the first. I think in the book they talk about in the first movie there's a stunt, or maybe it's this one where one of the stunt doubles broke his femur doing a stunt.
I think it was.
And carried on and came back for Fury Road because he loved George Miller so much.
Yeah.
So
I know there's like the one stunt where the guy flips and the guy wasn't supposed to flip. Or the guy.
It's a motorcycle stunt is all I remember.
But let's move on. Edwin, can you describe... Oh, why is it doing this again? Can you describe the plot of Beyond Thunderdome? That's Rita Repulsa behind me because that's... I feel like...
Yeah, that fits.
So it's now a couple years of from the events of the Road Warrior. Max has a long ass hair, got some gray in him. He stumbles upon Thunderdome, which is run by... What Bartertown also is known for its Thunderdome's fights. Bartertown is run by Tina Turner, who runs Bartertown, and then Max trying to make a deal and ends up fighting the Lost Boys. Yeah, which is a whole different movie.
It's appropriate that you were describing it and going well, and then you kind of trailed off. Because it's, I would say, kind of the experience of this film, where it's. I
mean, it is. It turned into a whole different movie.
Yeah, it's not. I'll say this I think this movie has a pretty solid batting average. This is my least favorite of the movies, but I still think it's good.
Yeah. Some parts are good, but the thing is, originally it wasn't supposed to be a Mad Max movie. It was about these group of kids in this wasteland. But in the end, they say, "Hey, you know what? Let's make it a Mad Max movie," and then just add this shit to it. It's like, oh, okay, so we got this.
Well, that's interesting because the kids are the worst part.
No, exactly. If there was some kind of cut, I would literally just stop where Max is fighting that huge ass dude and the dome, and then just end the movie right there.
And I didn't realize it's two different directors. That Miller left at one point.
Yeah,
and someone directed.
Miller directed the action stuff, and this other dude directed the serious stuff because Miller's producer partner got killed in a helicopter accident. So he didn't want to work on the movie.
I mean, it shows. You feel. I mean, like the production design and stuff. I think is still up to par, and there are moments like within the Thunderdome that like hold up, like Master Blaster and stuff. But it just feels like everything else was kind of second nature, or not second nature, like second.
There's a vibe content mismatch going on in here, I think, to a certain degree that reminds me. It doesn't quite nail the tone it's going for. The closest thing I can think of is like Crime Wave, Sam Raimi's movie, where there's something about it that's just like off-putting, and I think I can nail it down here more easily, which is that so much of the movie revolves around pig shit. I think there's something like, I know that seems like weird, but I'm being very genuine here. I think there's something about that decision that's like wrong in a way that's like fucks the whole movie up. Where like it's suddenly like why am I at a movie and thinking about pig shit this much and looking at this much pig shit and people wallowing around in pig shit and people who are sickly, I know because they've lived their lives in pig shit. And it's like gross in a way that I think is inescapable, and that kind of taints, and from my experience, like that's to me like one of the two big issues of the film, that and the fact that the middle section is pretty boring also.
Yeah, the middle, because the last chunk is pretty fun again.
Yeah.
But that middle chunk with the kids is rough.
Yeah, the Thunderdome fight is great. That's probably the best scene in the movie.
I think that's my entire review. Is like, maybe we shouldn't have gone Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah. It needs more cars. Yeah, the kids are just not as charming. And even like, besides the pig shit, the other stuff in Bartertown I actually like. It's very, I feel like I've heard people who made Fallout talking about this Mad Max specifically, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
There's like a vibe there. I think they even they use the term rads to denote like amount of radiation. And I love like the game show democracy, like that stuff is really cool. Yeah, I agree with you. I wish it wasn't centered on pig shit. I wish there was more cars, and I wish it was Mad Max at Thunderdome.
Yeah.
I didn't see this one till a few years ago for the first time, and I had heard for so long that Tina Turner was so bad in this, and then I was surprised because like I feel like she's in the spirit of the movie, like it matches the movie she's in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad.
No, not at all.
Edwin, what do you think?
It's okay. I wouldn't watch it again, but it's all right. It's not a perfect movie. It's just whatever, I guess.
Is everyone who isn't Edwin in agreement that it's our least favorite?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I was looking at reviews a few days ago, and the one I wrote down was that this is the first of Miller's movies that screams from the director of Happy Feet, and I like that concept.
That's great.
I do like that one little kid is playing with a Bugs Bunny doll, and that he looks cool, but like a war boy, like a proto war boy.
Well, yeah.
Just because I know he's not gonna have the passion for it, who besides Edwin wants to tell us about Mad Max Fury Road as seen in Space Jam 2: A New Legacy?
Look, man, I like Fury Road, all right? I enjoy Fury Road. Bastard.
All right, do you want to
1 o'clock.
summarize Fury Road then?
Yeah, I can do it. So, again, in the not too distant future, cities are now wastelands. The roads are now battlefields, and now there's new evil. What's his name again?
Immortan Joe.
Immortan Joe, who controls the water of the wasteland, and now Max has been taken hostage by one of those bald head dudes, and then Charlize Theron is this truck driver who has to go through the wasteland and deliver this run where everything goes all to hell, as Charlize Theron is that one's out of that particular society, because Morton Joe is one sadistic son of a bitch. You know, it's a race against time to get to the good place, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what's to say?
It's
Looking for abundance.
This is the boring part, because I feel like I agree. I think Road Warrior is a masterpiece. I think Fury Road is a masterpiece, but there was something about, I don't know for you guys, when the hype around this was starting, I feel like 2012-ish maybe, when like the internet, like film, Twitter and stuff was starting to talk about like, oh, this is happening, and here's all the cool stuff coming from set, here's all the problems they're having, and that first Comic-Con trailer that dropped where you're like, oh, like what if this is something? Because at the time I sort of was like, no one cares, like why are we doing this?
Right, yeah.
And then opening night I went with some friends, including my wife and her roommate and her roommate's boyfriend, and there was such different personalities and universal just sort of like silence of like, what did we just see? And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so hard to, the thing I think that puts the movie the best is there's a shot in the movie, if you've never seen it, there is a shot where the camera is moving through a field of cars that are moving through the desert, and the camera comes behind one vehicle that is just a like stadium style seating of people playing drums, and then spins around it to reveal this like white and melted man playing a guitar in a wall full of speakers built into a car that spews fire over an army of vehicles. And I don't think there's a cooler thing, period.
If people want to see that, it was one of the gifts I used in the opening. So, and
his name is Coma the Doofoyer. Like, what? I don't think there's a cooler thing in movies than that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even from the parody of it, like Conan O'Brien did like a cold open to his Comic-Con week, and like that was so good, you know, because it was that shot. It was all based around that. It was that impactful. I definitely remember seeing this the first time, like opening as well, and I remember just being in full crowd audience, but like you felt like you were breathing in sync with everyone, because there'd be those moments of a sequence that was so intense, and then like it would just pause for that moment of moving on, and everybody let that like, oh, we can breathe again for a second. It was a very communal, we're all into this shit like feeling for sure.
Yeah, I didn't catch an opening weekend for whatever reason, but I know I was like a little late to it. When I finally saw it, I was just like, oh wow, the hype was real. Like I've never seen anything like it. That shot, like towards the end when Max is on like the pole and just over it, all the explosion. I remember the first time I saw it, I just like involuntarily, I just like laughed and clapped. I was like, what is happening?
Are you guys familiar with the concept of the spectacle cry? This was a recently coined term. For years, I've tried to put a definition to. Often in movies, I will cry during as like the emotion of a scene builds to such a level that I get overwhelmed, but it's not always like a sadness or something. Sure. A writer, I should have I'll look up her name, but a writer coined it recently as the spectacle cry, and I think Fury Road is full of those, where like everything you're witnessing is so unbelievable that your senses can't handle it, and you just start to cry. Maybe that's just me.
That's happened to me completely. Twice in recent memory, both on rewatches at home. I have to be honest, in a weird way. In the theater, it's less so.
It's Alison Wilmore, just in case. She wrote an article about the case for the spectacle cry.
The big.
Sorry, go ahead.
The big oneer from the end of Spielberg's Tintin movie got me when I rewatched that, where I was like, man,
underrated.
This is cinema. And then when I was doing my rewatch before Dune Part 2 of Dune Part 1 when they arrived on Arrakis. I was like, man, movies are good.
She calls it spectral cry isn't about the tragedy of a scene or its poignancy or any specific emotional appeal at all. It's all about the sensation of being bowled over by the majesty, ambition, or craft of what you're seeing. And I feel like Fury Road is just that from start to finish to some degree.
Yeah.
No, it's
go ahead.
Yeah, no, like my I don't have any hot takes this episode.
Yes.
I have one medium take, which is that as great as I think this movie is, and as great as I think these movies as a whole are, none of them have ever quite been my favorite. I don't know what it is. I remember opening weekend, it's like I saw the movie and I was like, this is unimpeachably a masterpiece, but also I'm definitely not as into it as everyone else is. But you know, it's also just like it is hard to deny. Like it's so fucking good. Like I could nitpick like one or two moments. Like I don't like that moment where he like goes back into the mud and we think they kind of like play up the idea that like, oh, is he gonna be okay? And it's like, well, of course he's okay. It's like halfway through the movie. And like Immortan Joe's death has never landed quite right for me. There's something about like the music they use in that scene, but it is, I think, such a fucking good movie. Like it's I got to one of my rewatch, I showed my friend Naira who'd never seen it, and you know, oftentimes even when we're watching something good, we'll kind of talk every once in a while watching a movie, but that was one where it was just like, man, like what do you say?
Like, you can't, there's nothing to say.
The whole time I'm just like, hell yeah, this scene, hell yeah, this scene, oh hell yeah, it's this scene, hell yeah, this scene, nice, this scene.
You could also, between this and Furiosa, just have a whole podcast episode discussing the character names.
Yeah, well, let's not
they're all
discuss
phenomenal.
Those too much right now.
Okay.
For reasons I won't elaborate on yet. But unless you have like a specific point to make about any of them.
No, I just love them all.
And yeah, for fans of Fury Road, I couldn't recommend this book enough. As Daniel mentioned it, Blood, Sweat, and Chrome. It's about the making of it and just how it was like years in the making. Not exactly, but like it kind of started as it was going to be a TV show. They were going to do they were considering making a Mad Max syndicated show in the vein of like Xena and Hercules. They thought if they could get an IP like Mad Max, that would be a big boom. And they made like the toy prototypes, and it just seemed like the guy producing that, like it was like getting the wheels turning for George, but it's very clear that George was going to make another movie. And they came very close to making one with Mel Gibson, but with 20th Century Fox. But as they came closer to production, it just came obvious to Fox that the movie is going to be more and more expensive than they thought it was going to be. And so they bowed out. And by the time they got back in it, Mel Gibson was no longer starring in films. And he would have been too old anyways for what they wanted to do. But it's a really detailed book. My favorite part is that when they built the cars and which was that there was no like blueprints, no designs. They just like were basically like giving carte blanche of like, here's some pieces, here are your tools, make cars with personalities. So everything you see,
and everything had to have purpose. It all had to be repurposed real world things. No, like we're not inventing stuff. It's supposed to be. Right. That's why like Furiosa's pedal is like a shoe scale to measure your
exactly. Yeah, sure. Yeah. That was
wild. Yeah, everyone seemed to love especially the design part. Everyone like losing their minds. It's like, when will you ever get to do this?
Yeah. Again. And I will say one thing this book really I find interesting is that like everybody has nothing but wonderful things to say about George Miller. He really. I remember we're talking to Craig of Secret Movie Club about this, and he's like, "What do they say about Miller?" And it's like, I think it kind of puts to like shame that whole notion of like you have to be an asshole to get what you wanted, because like the book makes it very clear that he does not compromise. Like the studio did not like what was happening, and they came in and they were going to, and like he was never a dick about it, but it's just weird how he just like, well, I guess we're just going to stop making the movie, and I was like, well, we can't do that. But he's not a tyrant. He's not an asshole, and but he gets what he wants.
And he'll talk shit. I think because the guard from Warner Brothers when that was being made is gone, he shit talks how awful they were. My favorite little story is that they came to shut him down in the desert, and he sent his B unit to go get shots of the war rig for coverage while they were wasting his day. And I think that's
so smart. Yeah. It's great. Because they cut this, if I'm remembering it correctly, because you read the books, you guys, but because they cut this in silence, didn't they? Like, because I remember reading that it was like super influenced by Buster Keaton's The General, for the whole film, and because it's obviously his wife who was the editor, and they cut it in silence and then added the sound in after, apparently.
Yeah, and I mean, just even the way they shot it, like the actors were confused sometimes. So the dailies, like it was just one of those things that like. It didn't have a traditional script. They were mostly like when he was pitching it to Mel Gibson originally, it wasn't like he just said like, here's the script of Fury Road. Do you want to make this movie? He flew him to Australia, and like for 2 days they went over like the boards they had drawn all over. And so like when the studio got it, they were just getting like raw footage, and it was just like, what is this?
What is this movie?
I imagine it's like when Spielberg made Jaws and they were looking at the dailies. And it was just like the producers at the studio execs were just looking at dailies of like yellow barrels in the water getting dragged across the surface of the water all day, and they were like, what the fuck is this?
Well, especially when you're having like your main money of like tech and your sharks just not work. You know, or you're shooting a shot that you have to wait for like a boat in the longest distance ever to go by, and it'll take 7 hours to do that, and you're just like, we're just gonna chill.
I imagine also Miller would also, in a way, kind of have to be nice at the same time, because I imagine these sets are so intense that if the guy was also a dick, nobody would do it. You know what I mean? People would just be like, fuck this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But, you know, power to him, obviously, that he has this long, pretty varied career, and you know, he's still out there putting his whole fucking pussy into movies at nearly 80 years old.
This book is also full of some like what ifs. He came very close to directing Contact. And he was also very, very close to making his own Justice League.
I know. I was about to talk about that. Justice League Mortal. I wish I could peer into the universe where that movie exists and watch it.
Me too.
It was cool to see who he like the woman who was supposed to be Wonder Woman ends up playing the Valkyrie in Fury Road. He still was pulling people back.
That's cool.
I think he's a very loyal friend to people that have worked with him.
I mean, I think in the Australia thing alone too, where it's very adamant about shooting where he's shooting, and like I think I read something about like the whole crew, the union thing that had to be very, very. He wanted everybody to be taken care of. And didn't let the studios like jump in the way of that. I think that may have been even Furiosa, not Fury Road, but
Furiosa got held up for so long because the Warner Brothers crew at the time owed him a lot of money from Fury Road, and until that was settled, he didn't move forward to make Furiosa with them.
Yeah, why would he?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, and Edwin you do not get to talk first.
I don't know. I kind of personally would like to hear his summary.
I didn't hear Edwin's take. Did we hear Edwin's take on Fury Road?
Not yet. We've heard every other one, so I'm curious.
On Fury Road, he said he liked it, right?
Yeah.
I liked it I enjoy. I think it's one of the greatest action movies ever made. Of what year it came out? 2014. 2015. One of the best movies of 2015. Still, you know, with the death-defying stunts, action sequences, great practical stunts. I emphasize on the stunts that are practical. And
man, I'm gonna get your ass so hard here in a minute.
Furiosa. So and again,
I'm just kicking back and watching.
No, I know you guys are. I don't want him to describe Furiosa. Somebody else summarize Furiosa. No,
I encourage this. That's all I'm here to just push.
Nobody gets to make the decision. I do. So Scott or Daniel, one of you guys. I don't give a shit. Putting my foot down. I'm the big papa here. I'm piss boy.
Furiosa takes place in the not too distant future. Young Furiosa is kidnapped by these leads.
I've muted Edwin.
Oh wow! I love it. I love it.
Oh, man.
All right, Furiosa is a prequel to the masterpiece that is Mad Max Fury Road. We learn the backstory. We're getting messages from the muted Edwin. He will not be silenced.
Nope. Fuck you is right there.
We essentially learned the backstory. You know, as far as like to summarize it, that is the summary. One thing, a comment I made is that despite Fury Road being a movie about driving one place, turning around, and driving back, I believe that Furiosa has less plot and is better for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we learned the backstory of the great Furiosa character we met in Fury Road.
Not it. Edwin has written "fuck you" lies. He wrote the lies when all you had said were factual statements about the content of the movie. So that's a character statement. We know we can't trust what Edwin says, because he's in fact the liar. Not a good movie. Fucking video game movie. Okay.
I generally want to I'm generally curious about that last comment. Video game movie, like.
All right.
Edwin, I'm guessing it's the CGI. He was not a fan of the CGI. And
also,
just
Edwin,
less practical.
You can unmute yourself.
All right.
Dumbass.
All right. Okay, okay. When I watched it with Josh and Marina at the fucking piece of shit AMC Grove Theater, which looked like shit, by the way, I kind of regret where I watched it. It kind of looked like a downscale of the movie. It didn't look sharp or crisp. It looked like a bootleg almost. I don't know. I can't describe how it looked like, but I was not entertained at all. There were some few actually little good moments in the movie, mainly with Chris Hemsworth being like a douchebag. The opening of the movie was pretty cool with the mom trying to get Furiosa back. I thought she was pretty badass. I wish the movie was focused on her a little bit, but no, it takes a while until we get to adult Furiosa. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel right. Also, the amount of CGI that is in that movie just really upsetted me. Like Fury Road had some of that, but it wasn't like a lot. There was still a good amount of practical stunts and action sequences were real life explosions. This one had none of that. None of that.
Oh, none of that, you say?
I didn't see a whiff of real explosion. All I saw was CGI explosions, and some of the action scenes looked fake as fuck. Like, come on, dude. Anna Taylor-Joy, I don't know. I feel like she wasn't right for Furiosa. I feel like she was really miscasted. I don't see her as an action star as well. I wish they would have brought back Charlize Theron for the role again. Maybe I don't know, add some young ass makeup to her or something like that to make her young again, like that. I wish that was the case. Also, yeah, bringing back Immortan Joe, whatever. But what was the guy's name? Praetorius? What his fucking name is?
Praetorian Jack.
Praetorian Jack was pretty cool. I like how he's kind of molded after Snake Plissken a little bit. He's got that Snake Plissken vibe. Oh wait, no. My mistake. No. I'm the video game. I'm thinking about the video game Snake guy. That dude.
Solid Snake.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima, #1 Furiosa fan. So if the creator of the Metal Gear Solid series loves the movie, Edwin, who are you to argue with that?
I don't buy him one bit, man. I don't buy him one bit. I think he was lied to by anyway. Also, another thing I had a problem with. I hate the fact that Anna Taylor-Joy has an American accent. Dude, just talking Australian. Just get an Australian actress, somebody that's from Australia.
That's
like,
what
come on,
Charlize
dude.
Theron had in the last one.
An American accent.
Yeah.
That was all. That didn't bug. It bugged me a little bit, but when the main stuff happens, she really is spot on good on it. But again, Just get Australian actor. Like, come on, man. It's an Australian film. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Also, when she becomes Furiosa, when she saves her head, like, okay, great. We knew this was coming. Also, I hated that. I do like the different types of scenarios where how she gets rid of Chris Hemsworth's character. I thought that was pretty cool. And his final demise is him being
no. Let's no spoilers.
Okay. I did not like the ending at all. I thought it was pretty weak.
All right, so Edwin, not a fan of Furiosa.
Where would you rank it of the 5? Is it your least favorite?
It'll be underneath the Thunderdome.
Okay, so it's for number 5 too.
Yeah, I would put this in the middle. I think I like it more than 1 and 3, but less than 2 and 4. And I think that the people complaining about the effects are kind of revealing their hand, because I think that when you think about the average blockbuster these days, the level of effects has gotten pretty shitty, you know? And everything in this looks of a piece. It looks good. Like, does some of it look a little goofy? For sure, but like the aesthetic of the movie is kind of goofy. Like, I don't think that these effects are going to age poorly in any way.
Do you think it? To me, it had that sort of with kind of the 3,000 Years of Longing. There's a slightly stylized, more like not cartoony, but like clear aesthetic to the effects that make it feel part of a thing rather than trying to be hyper realistic. That I thought really worked for me, because it doesn't distract once you're used to it. I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. Like, especially like I love the in between the cave stuff where I don't know, some of that was just, it looked interesting. Like I appreciated seeing it. Like I knew what we were doing with it. I knew it wasn't portrayed as this practical thing.
Yeah,
there was something about that. Like I remember even the trailer package, we saw that, and then I think next of it was Planet Kingdom of the Apes or whatever that, and that's where I could tell the vast difference of like intentional CGI versus like an aesthetic of what we're using with technology. I don't know. They vastly look different if we're going to just say CGI film.
Yeah, I think that like the aesthetic here is solid. There's nothing here that breaks the aesthetic of the movie. And unlike, I think about that shitty shot of like Florence Pugh on top of the helicopter in Black Widow. That looks like it's one of the green screen scenes from The Office or something. I think that here's my big gotcha for Edwin. And Edwin, I want you to internalize this. You say you say these things about Furiosa, and yet they were fucking they had like 200 stunt people on the movie. Like, what are you fucking talking about? They did tons of practical stunts. Are you fucking crazy? If you like practical stunts, well, shut the fuck up for a second. If you like practical stunts in movies and you want to support that, shunning this movie is not the way to do it. No one's gonna look at the failure of this movie and be like, oh, it was because they didn't do enough practical stunts. It's probably because they did too many.
I saw it. I saw half the stunt, but it was covered all in CGI, ruining the work they did on that movie.
It was part of the thing.
Going back to Road Warrior, what do you see in there? Nothing but death-defying stunts.
I'm not talking about Road Warrior.
Death-defying stunt.
You need to make a point without being comparative.
No, man, I'm proving a fucking point, motherfucker.
That you like one movie better than the other, that's fine. That's not my point. I think I win. You just started yelling. I think that means I win. I think that in a debate, when someone just starts crying out, that is an admission of defeat.
CGI, Connor. Everyone's covered in CGI. There's nothing real. It's fake, all of it.
It wasn't all fake. There was an enormous amount of it that was specifically not fake.
It was fake.
I think especially when like behind the scenes videos come out from some of this stuff, I think you're really gonna eat your words.
What which were all covered with. They probably did some practical stunts.
Yeah, that's my point. You're not hearing my point. If you want to support practical stunts, I think you're obligated to support this movie.
I am not supporting this movie. It's not a Mad Max movie.
Well, that's you just being a misogynist.
It's a video game Mad Max movie. That's what it is. It's a fucking video game Mad Max.
I know you don't like this because you hate how the feminists have destroyed Mad Max and made it a movie about a woman.
Again, if they brought back Charlize Theron, it would have been better. All right? It would have been better.
Not disagreeing with what I said. Just so everybody catches that.
I didn't say that, man.
But I'm gonna
Charlize Theron, that would have been great. Anna Taylor-Joy is not an action star.
I mean, this wasn't really an action movie. They were a couple of great action scenes in it, but this is far more of a character study.
Yeah.
And that was surprising, but I thought it worked amazing.
Yes. I liked how it was doing. This is one of the other 5 that, in a lot of ways, it is closer narratively to 1. It is more of a revenge movie.
Absolutely. I believe there's a box set coming out of all 5 of these movies, and I'm looking forward to watching them all pretty close together, because I feel like watching this and this one will bookend each other very nicely. I remember I was at the New Beverly and I saw the 4-film marathon, and it just didn't quite work. And I think that was because a lot of the momentum was lost after Thunderdome.
Yeah. So
that by the time you hit Fury Road, it was like, oh, I'm excited, but also we have just watched 3 movies, and this movie's a lot. But I somehow feel like if then after that we would have been so charged up to now let's watch Furiosa, it would have been like, what a great way to end this marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, Edwin did compliment. I think the best part of the movie is Hemsworth. Probably, I think he kind of steals the show.
In the movie.
Yeah, he's pretty incredible in it.
I know, Daniel O'Brien, you're very traumatized by the argument that just happened, but what are you all?
No, I'm enjoying it. No, I'm fully enjoying it. There's no trauma with this.
I don't have an interesting retort in terms of besides disagreement.
Right.
With Edwin,
I think this makes this really cool thing where it makes Fury Road better, because now you get this interesting thing that everything that Fury Road does has an elevated emotional heart to it. It already has an emotional heart on its own, but now when you revisit it, it has this elevated sense because you know what came. Because when you go into this, I assume most people going to see Furiosa are familiar with Fury Road, and so things have to end poorly with every new thing you meet because they're not going to follow to some degree.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting because on one end, to me, that can be detrimental to a movie because, okay, I know I have an idea of the outcome. So instead, Miller wraps up. It's almost like this. It has a lot of biblical allegory, but it's supposed to be the birth of Imperator Furiosa, sure, but it paints a person she's already a person in Fury Road, but now she gets to be you watch the childhood that was taken from her and you watch her form a connection with someone for the first time and see where that leads. And I think it works because it's different. I don't want to retread. You can't top Furiosa. You can't top Fury Road, and you can't top Road Warrior. And they're doing 2 different things in their action. And I think this is the same thing. The center section war rig piece. It's called the stairway to nowhere. Coolest name. Huh? But there's the name of the action piece. I guess he refers to it as the Stairway to Nowhere.
Okay.
And it's so good where you're just clearly if he wanted to do Fury Road 2, he could, but he has no interest in that. It's such more interesting.
That's what I was thinking, is that I'm exactly with you. We're why would you want to do that? Of course you want to do something different. And then I saw that scene and I was like, God damn it. If he wanted to, he absolutely could have just been I'm going to do it again. It's going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's definitely a different look to it. I agree with Edwin on that. It didn't bug me, and I was reading a funny thing with Miller that he was like, I'm freaking 80. I need to shoot in Australia. I need to be closer to home. I need to be reasonable with myself. He's like, I can't go spend 9 months in the desert again. Like, that almost killed us. And so there's stuff where I'm like, I get it, but it is crazy. I think once the Blu-ray hits, Edwin, I would ask that you watch those behind the scenes and maybe give it one more go, because maybe it'll change. Because the behind the scenes stuff that's on YouTube now is pretty wild. What they're doing with it all is pretty sick.
And you know what? The non-action stuff was incredible too. All the character stuff.
I love Tom
I
Burke.
love the stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think for my money, maybe my favorite Hemsworth performance. He's doing this weird. He's just getting. I like him a lot. I think he is good stuff, and he's But this sort of him getting to be just slightly deranged, but never go too far. I feel like a lot of people take a role like this and they just push it where it becomes annoying.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough little like breadcrumbs of like clearly something terrible happened to this person too.
Sure.
Yeah, you never quite lose the tragedy of that character.
I like that he is essentially has the same backstory as Max.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I think
so in the two ways people go from that tragedy almost.
Well, you know, I guess we're just fully talking about the movie. The scene when he comes to, like, the first time he faces off with Imperium Joe, he kind of feels like a hero. Everything he's accusing Joe of is true.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a way, you almost wish, like, it's too bad this guy isn't who he's telling you he is. And it's too bad he's not the hero he claims to be. And because, like, he could have them all rise up and take over.
Which is also the opposite of Max.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we left the theater, Rachel was talking about how it's so funny that it makes you root for Immortan Joe. Where you're like, wow, I hope he can like
totally.
Deal with this.
That was a weird thing to feel for this one, where you were going through the emotion of it. Yeah.
See, for me, I wasn't necessarily rooting for Immortan Joe, but what it did to show is that like different styles of like totalitarianism, in that like sort of like, oh, Joe is like Stalin, in that like, look, no one is he's a monster, no one is questioning that, but like he made the trains run on time, like he obviously he exploited and built a society in his favor, but he was able to build a society where Hemsworth was just kind of like, let it all burn. Let's and like had he taken over Bullet Town and the Citadel, those would have burned as well. Because which brings me to like what I think the most interesting conversation is, like how like in the trailers, every single advertisement had the line, "Can you make it epic? Do you have it in you to make it epic?" But in context, that line is actually quite heartbreaking, quite sad. And it says a lot about his character. It's just like, oh, he's here to watch the world burn. And like even I guess we're a little spoilery, but I loved his downfall, and just like how I loved like the final his goodbyes to everybody, where it's just like, yeah, we gotta get out of here. Like we're done now. We gotta go. It reminded me actually a lot of Civil War, when they finally, speaking of spoilers, like take down the president. Of like, yeah, this guy is not some like glorious person. He was just some charismatic asshole who convinced enough people that he knew what he was doing. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Like I remember watching it going like, I might like this more than Fury Road, honestly. I feel like I need to watch them all again to like definitively rank them. I certainly know where Thunderdome and for that matter the first one but like with those three, I feel like I need to watch those other three again to get a real good like sense of like where I want to put them.
I'm in that same spot with you, because right now Fury Road and Furiosa would be my number 1 and 2, but I know Road Warrior is so good, but I haven't seen it in a minute. You know, but I think that I feel like it's going to end up more like Road Warrior will be 2 for me.
I will say Furiosa plays better as a prequel. I think
absolutely. It's a very good intentional prequel.
Like it just, there's some stuff where it's like it feels like you're supposed to know what these things are already. Especially with like the War Boys and just like the Immortan Joe in the society.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should. I think it's meant to be watched second, which is as sort of an emotional payoff to and it makes the ending of Fury Road all the sweeter. I mean, to a point that the movie, we're in spoilers talk. The credits of the movie play clips from Fury Road, which to me is the definitive. You're supposed to be watching the second type of thing. Here's a reminder of what she goes on to do.
Right.
But this is built as a second thing, which is very interesting. I've never, I don't think I've seen anything like that.
I would have cut those.
Well, it's like the opposite of Rogue One, though, where it was like, no, we are leading directly into this first thing here. Yeah. And it kind of does like sit a little bit on its own. Yeah, I was kind of weirded out by it at first, but then I kind of dug it weirdly.
It almost is built to be like you can't watch this first. Like you're gonna stay. Your friends are over and you're watching this. You're gonna be like, stop. Yeah.
So no. I'm trying to get the focus on my. Like my it keeps like going.
I thought you were pushing us all out of this. You're like, no, we're done with this shit.
Yeah, I had two other smaller things to mention about this. I know the guy who plays Rictus got hate mail because people were like, I can't believe your character's a pedophile, and he had to like go to Facebook to be like, listen, guys, it's a character. Which is just
it's a weird thing. People are just so fucking weird.
The media literacy hour we had earlier this year.
Shoot, totally.
And I'm just not going to bring that up. But yeah, Edwin, what do you have to say for yourself?
It still sucked.
Hell yeah, Edwin, speak your truth.
But maybe we'll get a 35 it can screen after you can get some BTS time in, and maybe you'll find a renewed sense someday.
Well, as soon as they played Road Warrior again, I'll be the first one in line.
I think Edwin went in wanting to not like this movie because he was on. Because I saw that as like a narrative online of people being like, "Oh, there's so much CG in the movie."
People were really mad when the trailers came out.
Yes, incredible.
Which was so weird because when it ended, I didn't think about it at all, and then I kept seeing all the stuff, and then I was like, "Oh, it is." Do I feel that way? And then I was like, I didn't think about that until I saw someone put it down in writing.
I like practical stuff too, but I think people who are militant about it are weirdos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Real freaks, little perverts. In fact,
I don't think I will say this. I don't think any of it hurt the movie. Like I was never like unengaged, and I thought we talked about the stowaway scene. I thought the attack on Bullet Town was incredible too.
Oh yeah.
Like, a really great character.
I mean, the Bullet Farm.
Scene. Yeah, Bullet Farm. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so sick. That was killer.
Yeah.
Which, if you had to tag yourself, which of Immortan's sons are you?
I'm the little boy from Fury Road.
Oh, with like he has like the motorized thing. I guess after the conversation we just had about the actor playing him, maybe we don't want, or playing the other son, maybe we don't want to tag ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe I mean any of them.
He did the new son Scrotus. That is a returning actor, which I love that George Miller did that. If people don't know, the guy who played Scrotus, the new of Immortan Sons in this movie, he played he played Slit, Nux's Lancer. So Nicholas Holt's like buddy in the car in Fury Road.
I don't know if the audience listening to this is a Saturday Night Live fan, but there was a sketch a few months ago of Ryan Gosling and Mikey. I'm blanking on his name.
I know where you're going.
Mikey Day.
Mikey Day playing Beavis and Butthead, and when Scrotus appeared on screen, I for a minute was like, "Is that Mikey Day as Beavis or Butthead in Mad Max?" They look shockingly similar. That hairline and receding like eyebrow thing is pretty close.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing. He looks absolutely
I need to look at who SNL's makeup designer is.
Speaking of like reusing actors, I did not realize the first time we saw this, but the actor who like plays Chris Hemsworth, kind of right-hand man with the eye patch, he's also Immortan Joe.
Yes.
In this.
Yep.
Which means there's one scene when he announces himself to himself. He like comes out as like,
oh, interesting.
Introducing Chris Hemsworth's character, and then
apparently the reason for that is because the original Immortan Joe was an older actor who was actually the bad guy in the first one, and he passed away in 2020.
Thought so, yeah.
And
Thought so.
Apparently when they were shooting this, because obviously Immortan Joe's not in this one as much. He's in, he's in it a decent amount, but like when you think about like how much he had to be on Fury Road, they probably filmed most of the Immortan Joe stuff in like a week, compared to all the big stunt sequences. Apparently, I think when they were shooting this, he was cast as the other character, Riz Dale Pale or something is the character's name.
Okay.
And they were not sure how they were going to do a Immortan Joe. They were thinking of using, computer effects or whatever. And that dude just came up to Miller and was like, I think I could do a pretty good Immortan Joe. And that's apparently how he got the part of Immortan Joe also.
Hell yeah.
So we love a self-reliant king.
Yeah. And he was great. Yeah. I thought like it was a great portrayal. Yeah, it feels,
yeah, you can kind of tell it's a different guy, but it almost works because he's supposed to be a little younger, sort of.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, yeah, because it works with like, okay, well, like obviously Fury Road, spoilers, this is his final ride, and it's like, yeah, he feels like he was like circling the drain by then, where like this is like he was approaching it, but not quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, I didn't totally get Edwin tilted, but we got close there a couple times. I'm going to switch over, and it's time for Connor's Wicked Games, sponsored by Chris Isaac, David Lynch's best friend. Every week, like Jigsaw, I like to play a little game. This week, we're playing 2 Maxes and a Lie, which is a repurpose. Brian and Scott will remember this. It's basically the same game we played on the Dune episode, but for Mad Max. So we're gonna go around in turn. I'm gonna read 3 terms. These can be names, locations, objects, concepts. 2 are from the world of Mad Max, mostly the films, but there might be some stuff from the video games and other sources. One of the terms is not from Mad Max. For 1 point, you have to tell me which one isn't. For 1 more point, you have to tell me where that term, movie, universe, franchise, series, where that term is from.
And is this a first to answer, or are we going to go person to person?
Person to person. Everyone's going to get a chance. And we're going to switch you guys first. There are 2 catches. More than one of these are not... more than one of these third ones that aren't from Mad Max aren't from anything but my brain. And so the media franchise you need to guess is Connor's brain. And not, like Star Wars.
Okay.
But there may be some from other franchises. You just are adding that into the mix.
Most of them are from real franchises, but there's at least one. In fact, I'll say there's more than one that is from my brain and not from Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever. Also, more than one of these is oops, all Max, meaning all 3 words are from Mad Max. And so you have to guess oops, all Max instead. And a correct answer there is worth 1.5 points because you can't get the extra point for where it's from. I'll start with Edwin. Edwin.
Yes.
Which of these 3 names, these are names, is not from Mad Max? Toe Cutter, Lord Humongous, or Tyrene Calypso?
Tyrene Calypso.
And where is Tyrene Calypso from? Do you have any guesses?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Daniel?
I'm gonna say, wait, there's no half points, right? It's all or nothing.
Well, you'll get 1 point for guessing the correct one that isn't from Mad Max. And you'll get a 2nd point for guessing the franchise.
Okay. And one more time, the last one was...
It's Toe Cutter, Lord Humongous, and Tyrene Calypso.
Yeah, I think Calypso's the only one I don't recognize, but I can't think of Frank Calypso. Sounds like an X-Men thing.
Right.
I'm
So
gonna
you're
say
guessing Tyrene Calypso, but you don't know the
that.
franchise.
Yeah.
Scott?
I am also guessing Tyrene Calypso, but I want to say Connor's brain.
Brian?
It's definitely that name, the Tyrant Calypso, but I have no idea where it's from, and I don't think it's fake. I think it's still something, but I don't know.
Everyone gets 1 point. Tyrene Calypso is not from Mad Max. It is from the Borderlands series of video games.
Yeah, it would not have happened over here.
Pirates was a good guess. Pirates was like, honestly, maybe.
Totally.
A pretty good guess. I have to I almost want to give. I'm not going to give Edwin points, but I want to.
Give me a point. Fuck.
Give you some adoration.
Yeah, you get a like. It's like in when you're playing a fibbage with your friends and you don't win the actual game, but you get the most likes. Next up, and we'll start with Daniel on this one. Which of these is not from Mad Max? Minister Mason, Doof Warrior, or Organic Mechanic?
I think it's Minister Mason.
And where's that from?
Fallout.
Scott?
Minister. Okay. Mr. Mason, but I have no idea where it's from.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm the same. Minister Mason, but I don't know.
Edwin?
Mason.
And where's
Fallout.
it from?
Oh wait, no. The Rock. Michael Bay.
1 point for everyone. It is Minister Mason. That is the name of Tilda Swinton's character from Snowpiercer.
Oh shit! Okay.
Hell yeah!
That's a great movie.
Scott, you answer first. Rictus erectus, Corpus colossus, or Scabrous scrotus?
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna go for it and say Oops All Max.
Brian?
I think I'm gonna go with Scott on that one. Yeah.
Edwin?
Uso Maxo.
And Daniel?
Yeah, I think Oops All Max.
1.5 points for everyone. Those are the names of his three sons.
Yeah.
Rictus erectus, Scabrous scrotus, and Corpus colossus is the little guy from the from Fury Road who's not in Furiosa.
Such a theme of the making baby names. They have the one book only. They're like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Keep on this page only.
They have to be alliterative and sound fun. Brian, 1 second, let me mark something. Melange, Mother's Milk, or Guzzolene?
What's the second one?
Mother's Milk.
I want to say that, I guess.
Where's that from? What was that?
Many things, but I have no idea what this particular thing might be for. But actually, no, you know what? What's the first one again?
Melange.
I think I'm going to go with the Oops again. They're all Mad Max. I feel like I've heard them in reference to that, but I could be wrong.
Edwin?
What did you say?
Melange, Mother's Milk, or Guzzolene? Which one's not from Mad Max?
Melange.
And where's that from?
From your mind.
Daniel?
I kind of like where Edwin's on with that. I can't think of an association to melange, so I like your brain.
Scott?
I'm going to say Melange. Ooh. I was just going to make up a guess and say like Zelda or something. But I'm going to say your brain. Yeah.
3 points. 1 point for Scott, Daniel, and Edwin. It is a melange. That is the actual, like, the name of the spice from Dune.
Oh, okay.
Oof.
Can do.
Edwin.
Fucking nobody calls it that. It's just the spice.
Yeah. Edwin.
Wait, what is it? What is it?
Which of these are not from Mad Max? Sprog, Dirk Speg, or Screw Loose, spelled Scrooloose.
Screw loose.
Daniel?
Can you repeat that one more time?
And Edwin, where is Screw Loose from?
From your mind as well.
Daniel, Sprog, Dirk Speg, or Screw Loose?
Sprague, Dirk, Speg, or for some reason Dirk doesn't sound like
it doesn't seem like a Mad Max world.
But like in the first movie, there's some like more general Dirk Speg. I'll guess Dirk Speg.
And where's that from?
I'm gonna guess Fallout again.
Scott?
What were they again?
Sprog, Dirk Speg, or Screw Loose?
And how is Screw Loose spelled?
One word, Scrooloose.
I'm going to say Screw Loose, and I'm going to say Transformers. I don't know.
Brian?
I think it's Dirk, and I think if he's part of the Mad Max world, he's like the porn star of the Mad Max world. It's got a weird name, so I'm going to say Dirk. I have no idea what it's from, but otherwise. 1
point for Brian and Daniel. Dirk Speg is from my brain. It's a name I wanted to use for a D&D character for a long time. Sprog is the name of the baby in the first movie, and Screw Loose is the little proto-war boy in Beyond Thunderdome.
Okay.
Daniel. These are groups of people. These are all kind of themed, you know. I don't know if you guys are kind of noticing it, like, you know, with melange, mother's milk, and gasoline. Those were all substances. Those were all names of people. This is all groups of people. Vuvolini, Main Force Patrol, are crow fishers.
I would guess. I guess. I think maybe it's Oops All Max.
Scott?
Can you hear him again?
Vuvolini, Main Force Patrol, and crow fishers.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna go Oops All Max.
Brian?
Sorry to do this to you. What was the second one again?
Main Force Patrol.
Yeah, I think they're all Max too. I think I'm gonna go take a gamble.
Edwin? Well, three of you got 1.5 points. That is indeed Oops All Max. Main Force Patrol are the cops from the first one. Crow fishers are those weirdos you see with the stilts. And the Vuvolini are Furiosa's people.
Oh, okay.
These are vehicles, Scott. Which of these is not from Mad Max? The Giga Horse, Vader Buggy, or Little Wyvern? Wyvern, by the way, being it's a term for like a little dragon, if people don't know that.
I've never said that word out loud before.
Wyverns, yeah.
I've like seen it spelled. I have no idea.
What are they again?
The Giga Horse, Vader Buggy, and Little Wyvern.
Vader Buggy, but I have no idea.
Brian?
I think it's that. What is that word again? It's the first time I've heard it in my life.
Wyvern.
The Wyvern, yes, I think it's that.
And where do you think that's from?
Your brain or something, maybe. I hope.
Edwin?
It's some weird shit.
Vader Buggy.
And where do you think it's from?
Swallow out.
Daniel?
I also think the little dragon, and yeah, I guess your brain. I don't know.
A point for Brian and Daniel. It is Little Wyvern. That is one of the vehicles from the F-Zero series.
Oh, of course.
Is F-Zero post-apocalyptic?
No, but it's
okay. I wasn't sure if there was a.
It's car
fair,
based.
fair, fair.
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Car based,
I was looking at a lot of just like, you know, general science fiction that kind of, you know, because certain stuff, like whenever I did Dune, I could use like Lord of the Rings and stuff, but I can't really use Lord of the Rings for this. Like you can tell the difference between Lord of the Rings terms and Mad Max terms.
Yeah.
Which vehicle is the Vader buggy?
I think both of those, the Giggle Horse and the Vader buggy. The Giggle Horse was, but they're both Hemsworth vehicles. The Vader buggy was his big car that he had that he rammed the gates with, and the Giggle Horse was the one where he like had the different
all the bikes.
Yeah. Okay. Scott will start next, or well, we'll go to Brian next because my thing got moved around my screen. And then Scott will start the next one. Brian, Cheeto. These are names. Cheeto spelled Cheedo. Nogra spelled Noggra, or the Dag spelled DAG. Cheeto, Nogra, or the Dag.
Jesus Christ! I mean,
I want your reaction as a GIF. Really good.
I'm so confused at those words there. The second one again. What was that?
Nogra, Noggra.
Sure, we'll go with Nogra. I gonna just guess it's from your brain again. I don't know.
Scott?
Nogra from your brain.
Edwin?
I pass on the question. It's too hard. It's too difficult.
Daniel?
I also think Nagra. I'm going to say from your brain, but it's also the brand of an audio mix toolkit. So.
Oh, hell yeah.
1 point for Scott, Daniel, and Brian. Nagra is the name of a Klingon from Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
That's probably why it's the brand name of that, I bet.
Yeah.
Scott, this is it's substance. I don't know how else to describe this. Aquacola, Dinky D, or Slocum's Joe.
Oops, all Max.
Edwin?
I pass on the question again. For being these questions are hard, and it's hurting my brain.
You have a 1 out of 3 chance of getting it right just by guessing. You know that, right?
Okay, what was it again?
Aquacola, Dinky D, or Slocum's Joe.
So Slocum Joe, where the fuck it is.
Daniel?
One more time.
Aquacola, Dinky D, or Slocum's Joe. And Edwin, have you have a guess about where that's from?
No, I don't. It's too difficult.
Daniel?
I'm gonna say I'll do Joe as well. Slocum's Joe.
And where that from?
Slocum's Joe. Beverage.
And I promise all of these, like, I do double check. Whenever I choose to put one of these in, I like type in Slocum's Joe, and the first result on Google is for this specific thing. If anything, if I do it and it doesn't come up, that I don't use it.
Beverages. Is it from like Idiocracy or something? I'm trying to think of a beverage-based joke. I'll just say that. I don't have it a better. Or also your brain.
Brian?
Your brains might go.
Go with the Slocum Joe. Weekend at Bernie's 2.
That's 1 point for Brian, Daniel, and Edwin. It is Slocum's Joe. That is from Fallout.
I should have. I literally was like just gonna guess Fallout for everything. So I was like, surely.
That's why I was like to Edwin, like, do you have a guess about where it's from?
Were you guys guessing Fallout is in the game this whole time?
Yes.
I was thinking the Mission Impossible Fallout. That's great.
Oh yeah, the game.
No, the
I
game.
thought it was like post-apocalyptic themed.
Yeah.
Frick. I was like, I know that word, and I don't think it's from Fallout, from Mad Max. I should have just trusted my gut.
Edwin,
That's
which of
embarrassing.
these is not from Mad Max? Poxyclips, The God Coming, or Planet Earth, spelled ERF?
Plexiglass.
Daniel?
Can you just say them again so I can hear them?
Poxyclips, The God Coming, or Planet Earth?
God coming. I'm gonna say the God coming from your brain. I want one
Brian?
from your brain.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the God Coming too. Yeah, I would not know what it's from. Your brain will say.
Scott?
The God Coming, and I'm going to say from Mission Impossible. Ooh.
Well, that's 1 point for Brian, Daniel, and Scott, and an additional point for Daniel and Brian. The God Coming is indeed from my brain. Next up, Daniel. Mohane Desert, Plains of Silence, or We Jerusalem, as in WEE Jerusalem. Like Lil.
Mohaine Desert, Plains of Silence. I'm gonna say what was the first one called again?
Mohane Desert.
I'm gonna say the Mohaine Desert only because it sounds the most like a. I'm gonna go with that, and I think it's from freaking desert movie. I don't know. I can't think of a thing.
Brian?
Desert. Fallout.
I'll go ahead and tell you I'm not doing Fallout again. So
Yeah, I know it's Wayne Desert. I just don't know. I feel like it's familiar, but I don't know what. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that. I don't know anything else.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Mohaine Desert, and I'm going to say Super Mario Brothers.
Nice.
Yeah, I think
Edwin?
so.
I like to pass on the questions.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Which is too difficult.
When the ambient kicks in.
Well, that's 1 point for the other three. Mohane Desert is from the Dark Tower series.
Oh shit! Yes.
Shit. Brian.
Oh.
This is a concept.
A concept. I get a concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a term or phrase. Word stuff, word burger, or jerking time.
I mean, I know what I wanted. I mean, I'm gonna say jerking time, and it's come up from Connor. I just for just reasons of that, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
seems like something you would come up with.
I do enjoy jerking time, but this
we
is
all
its
do.
own thing.
Look,
Right? Yeah.
Scott,
jerking time.
Edwin.
I think it came from my brain.
Will I pass on the question for being too difficult?
All right, sleepy boy. Daniel.
Can I have it one more time?
Word stuff, word burger, or jerking time.
The two are pretty ridiculous.
I'm gonna say word burger, and I think that it's from.
It doesn't matter. You're all wrong. That's his oops all Max. Word burger. Chris Hemsworth says in the most recent, he asks his history man for a word burger, at one point.
I love history, man.
And word stuff and jerking time are both phrases and terms that the kids from Beyond Thunderdome use.
I was going to say, with the Fury Road, there's not enough time for jerking time, so
Yeah.
it's too intense, but that makes sense a little earlier on. Okay.
And then, Scott, this is the last one. I'll go ahead and say Daniel and Brian are 1 point apart. So everyone else, Scott, you've gotten a bronze. There's no way around it. And
Damn it.
Edwin has failed to place, unless Daniel and Brian tie somehow, in which case Edwin would, by default, by the rules I do, get a bronze. But these are names. I'm proud of this one. Bubba Zanetti, Roof Arsbogger, or Mudguts.
Cincinnati.
Mudguts. That sounds like a jeez. What's the second one?
Roof Arsbogger.
Whose turn is it?
It's your turn,
Right.
Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to hear them all again.
Bubba Zanetti, Roof Arsbogger, or Mudguts.
I'm going to say Bubba Cinetti. And that's from Doctor Strange.
Edwin.
I pass.
Daniel.
Questions are difficult.
Cincinnati. Roof. One more time. I'm so sorry.
Bubba Zanetti, Roof Arsbogger, or Mudguts.
These are the Mad Max questions.
Yep.
I'm gonna say
A true fan would know this, Edwin.
I'm gonna say oops all Max.
Brian?
I'm gonna say the roofer guy. I think that's what it is.
And where do you think that's from?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm gonna just say your brain is the default for these.
In a miracle, Edwin has squeaked out a bronze because, Brian, you just tied it up. It is Roof Arsbogger. Bubba Zanetti and Mudguts are names of henchmen from the first Mad Max, some of Toe Cutter's henchmen. Roof Arsbogger, I almost would have given, I think if anyone had guessed where Roof Arsbogger was from, I would have given them an automatic win. That is the name of a character from L. Ron Hubbard's Battlefield Earth.
No shit. It's funny.
So,
that makes logical sense right there, for sure.
But I remember I found that name and I was like, oh, hell yeah. like this sounds like such a Mad Max name. It even
Is that
Arse.
John? Is that
No, it is not John Travolta's character. He plays the bad guy. I don't know who the fuck Roof Arsbogger is. I just had a very long chat about Battlefield Earth while in France that I'm not going to get into right now. But it is now time for Edwin's cool stuff. I kept the spoiler thing on screen. Oh, it's not. Let me do the spotlight. It's not letting me spotlight. Edwin, do you have anything cool to?
It's spotlighted on my screen.
Yeah, it's in the on.
It's not capturing on my
the stream thing.
the
capture?
stream window. Whenever I do it, the little tiny screen with all of us, it's capturing that instead of the big screen.
Yeah.
Well, there's an earthquake at Edwin's. You're right.
I want an Astro Burger so bad. I want a grilled cheese sandwich and fries, but they're gonna close soon.
That's a specific stoner pick right there.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a man who knows what he wants, right there.
Okay.
Got anything cool to show off?
Yeah, I got brain donors. Yeah, brain donor.
Nice. I'm finally glad you moved up that list.
Yeah, it's in the tradition of Albert and Costello, the Three Stooges, and the Reagan administration comes three dumbasses. Yeah,
I've never heard of this.
I know you haven't, Connor. I know you haven't. I got Summer Tree with Michael Douglas. Yeah, Michael Douglas, produced by his father. I got the cinematic masterpiece known as Man on the Moon.
That's a good
Jim
movie.
Carrey.
Right.
It's a good
I like that
pickup.
movie. Yeah.
I have a copy of this already, but I bought it again because I don't know where my copy is, so I want one next to me.
Probably.
It's probably hidden in between the other 5 of them that you have.
Yeah. I got Laid from Shanghai, Orson Welles.
All right.
It's a good one.
And I got a boxing movie called Triumph of the Spirit with Willem Dafoe right there, shirtless Willem Dafoe.
Okay.
Hubba hubba.
I just got it out of a blind buy. I already have a DVD copy of this. I forgot I already had it, but mine copy signed by the director. I got Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. I just got it for this
Hell yeah.
for this shitty cover.
It's a
But-
crazy cover to put on that movie. It just looks
Yeah.
like the most standard.
Well, Monster Palooza, I got the 4K of Southern Comfort.
Nice.
I don't know why they put Fred Ward in there because he's not really the main character in the movie, but you might as well. It's Fred Ward. It turns out I had this the entire time. I got a movie called Gotcha of Anthony Edwards.
You had
It's
it.
got, who's the chick in it? Linda Ferrantino. She's like the hottie in this movie.
All right.
Yeah. And also, I found I have this called Dad with Jack Lemmon and Ted Danson and Ethan Hawke. Yeah, I'm gonna put it aside. I watch that. I found I have Gosford Park by Robert Altman.
You bought all these recently, you say?
No, these were in my bed. The one I showed earlier. Those are what I bought.
This is less Edwin's cool stuff and more Edwin's stuff he has at hand.
Stuff I can reach.
Right.
Yeah.
We got to get you one of those reaching claw things so you can have a little more variety in your.
You gotta show something
pickings.
cool. I know you have cool stuff.
What's cool?
Something that only you would have, not a DVD copy of Gosford Park.
I got a press information of Born East LA.
That's cool. That's a cool
That's
thing.
cool, right? Yeah.
That's a press kit.
There we go. That's more like it.
It's got Cheech. It's got Cheech right there, crossing the border because Trump didn't let him in. Here's another one. It's a cool thing.
You say that like you approve.
Here we go. Stern, who's a coyote, because he's trying to get back to the border. Here we go. Here's a cool one. There's what's this? Jan Michael Vincent as the border patrol guy. There's a very liberal guy right there, and had this for a while. Forgot I even had it, and I just have this sucker.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, August 5th, 1987.
You actually fulfilled the mandate of it being cool stuff. That was a cool thing you pulled out.
There you go.
Well, it's time for a new segment.
Oh.
Oh God.
It's the Dune date. I'm updating people on where I'm at with the Dune series. I finished reading the first book. I am more than halfway through reading Dune Messiah. And I will say that I'm wondering, I'm liking the book. I went in knowing kind of the vibe of the book, but I really wonder, how are they going to adapt this into a movie? It's mostly just people talking. And so it'll be really interesting to see what they do with it.
Maybe they'll all be just riding worms the whole time by having conversation.
Yeah,
in
hopefully.
That way. That'd be fun.
I showed my mom part 2. I made her rewatch part 1. She wanted to, but on the flight back from France I was on recently, I went to France, by the way. I did a double feature of the first 2 movies, the Denis Villeneuve ones, with my friend Bobby, who had never seen either one, and now I'm thinking about going back and visiting an older version of Dune. You know what I'm talking about, Edwin?
Wait, what?
I'm thinking about going back and visiting an older version of Dune.
You mean the true masterpiece, the only masterpiece?
Of course, I mean the true only masterpiece. You're in agreement with me, right? I'm of course talking about the William Hurt starring sci-fi miniseries adaptation of Dune.
That's what I'm talking about. That's not the one I'm talking about.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. What are you? Okay, I don't know why I called on you. No, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. This is my segment. And so I'm excited. I'm gonna get into that soon. And
I
have to ask, does anybody have anything else? I think we should get to motherfucking end of genocide and a free Palestine, but anything people have that they want to shout out? I have a few things. I'll go ahead and start just because I'm already here. The new Jenny Nicholson vid, which doesn't need my help. It's doing very well. But her vid on the Star Cruiser is one of the most stressful things I've ever watched. I don't know why that video stressed me out so much, but I was just like, man, this isn't how things should be. And it upset me deeply. And I've also been really getting into this YouTube channel called Cracking the Cryptic that also doesn't need our help, but much less big as Jenny Nicholson. But it's basically just a very sweet British guy solving really hard Sudokus with weird rules. And I found it very pleasant, and I always like puzzles, and I've been into that. But anybody else?
Yeah, I've got one. I just saw Bad Boys Ride or Die, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. I mean, as far as someone, I like the movies, I like the series, so this is more of the same. And if you like it, if you like the movies, I can't imagine not liking this one. If you're not a fan, I don't think this is where I wouldn't want you to watch it, this one then. But I had a good time, so check it out if you're thinking about seeing it.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go for gold. Go for gold.
I just I saw Am I Okay recently, Tig Notaro's new film that's, I guess, finally available. I think it did like the festivals 3,000 years ago, but it's finally got distribution and it's on HBO Now or Max or whatever it's called. It's really good. It's Dakota Johnson, so it's basically Madame Web finding herself, and it's pretty dope. Tig Notaro's got a wonderful cameo, and it's just a good time, great soundtrack and everything. And then I'm just also here for the rest of the summer, just watching Chappell Roan take over the world, and it's pretty dope.
Second in Chappell Roan.
Yes.
My two quick things. I'm rereading the Lord of the Rings, and I'm doing Andy Serkis did audiobook versions of Hobbit and the trilogy and the Silmarillion, and it is so good. It's such a cool way to revisit. So I'll probably continue with his audiobooks. The one audiobooks I can't listen to in like 1.5 speed because he's so good that I don't want to goof it.
Have you read the Silmarillion before?
Yeah, I've read the Hobbit trilogy and Silmarillion. I have not read some of the other
unfinished tales.
I have not. So that's what I want to go correct, because I've heard that the animated movie coming out in December is supposed to be is getting very big buzz, that it's going to be something special.
Yeah.
So I want to like dive back in. Then I also read a book called Nuclear War, a Scenario by Annie Jacobson, which if you are want to just have a nightmare view of the world, more so than we do, highly recommend. She's a journalist, and basically using declassified information from the early 2010s and a lot of interviews over the last 11 years, she has put together a scenario of what if nuclear war started, and here's how it would go second to second. And it is genuinely one of the most mortifying things I've read, and is very interesting perspective. If you don't want to feel that way, some of her other work is incredible. She's written some great books on like Area 51 and Operation Paperclip, which is about like when the US brought in Nazi scientists to help them with some stuff, and like the CIA, and there's some really cool stuff. She's a very, very, very talented writer.
The way you said that, like, help them with some stuff, it sounded like
like
baking
or
like laundry.
Can you do us a quick favor?
Hey,
can I borrow a cup of sugar real quick?
Some indentured servants.
And yeah, I think that about does it.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I have one book you should read, Connor. Oh god. Sorry. There's this cool. It's called A Handheld History, and they're gonna put out a console. Oh my gosh. They're gonna put out a console version, but this is a group of writers who have a bunch of like essays and stuff on like the history of gaming in the handheld space, and it's very cool, very nostalgic, and also wild to see like the amount of versions of things we liked exist. That's all. Thank you.
My brain immediately, when you said like there's a book you should read, I thought you were going to pull out a book with like the cover that says a dumb book for idiots or something.
It's a genuine one.
But yeah, I want to say, hey, I also want to say, so next week I think is going to be, it's either going to be next week or the week after, and that's going to be the next episode, will be Twin Peaks Club Volume 5, where we're talking about episodes 17 through 21, aka the 5 episodes after the big stuff.
I think I got to start that like now.
Yeah.
Otherwise that's going to be a rough night before.
We're gonna see about that, and I think Jason Steele's going to join us for that one again, which will be nice. I want to thank Brian here for our closing outro. I want to say you should follow us on TikTok and Instagram at CinemaCurse666, and show this episode to your local car mechanic. You know, I think they're really going to appreciate it. The kind of deep dives we went into the car culture of the Mad Max, the real nitty gritty, and like, subscribe, share this, blah blah blah. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.
Stay flat.